Hi, my name's Danielle Nafte. I'm with Metamorphosis New York, and I'm here today to talk to you about basics in foundation. I know, coming from a background in makeup, it was always a passion of mine to know how to do my makeup and how to do it properly. And even though I thought I knew what I was doing, I maybe didn't. So I'm going to give you a full-blown tutorial on how to properly do foundation beginning to end. So first, we're going to start with a makeup cleansing wipe. Get off any of that makeup that's left behind, anything that's there, so you have a really nice clean palette to work off of. Now, as you can see, sometimes you think everything's off and there's still a lot left behind. So it's really important to use something like that, or go use a cleanser. And then a lot of times I'll even do my makeup wipe to dissolve the makeup before I cleanse and then go do that. So now I'm actually going to tone my skin. Take a cotton round and just pour a little toner on there. And just again, all throughout the face, because you're still going to find you get some more off. Now you may say, hey, what does this all matter? I'm just going to put makeup over it anyway. But it's really actually very important, because your makeup's going to go on a lot more flawlessly, a lot more even when you have your skin with nothing on it. Okay, now it's time. We got to put some product on. So we're going to start with a serum or some sort of a product that's going to kind of help fill in areas. We're not going to do a primer yet, but we're just going to work this into the skin really, really well. Get it in there really nice and deep. Okay, work it all around. If you notice, I didn't carry it under my eyes. I'm going to use a separate eye cream for that. But I am going to carry it down my neck. So that's always really important. Remember, your neck and the top of your chest count as your face. Okay, so now we're going to go for an eye cream. And with an eye cream, it's really funny. A lot of people don't realize this, but you want to always make sure to use your ring fingers, because they're actually the fingers with the least amount of pressure. So you want to just very lightly dab, and it's going to help to bring circulation back to that area. If you're using an eye cream that can go top and bottom, I recommend you do that at night. Before your makeup, if you put it on top of your lid, then it's actually going to kind of create a little bit more oil and grease, and your eyeshadow is not going to stay on as effectively as you would like it to. And then we're going to finish off with our moisturizer. And if you are someone who is more oily, you want to use one that's more of a lotion. And if you're someone who's more dry, then you want to definitely use something that's a little heavier, a little creamier. When I'm being photographed, I don't use something with SPF, because what'll happen is then if my foundation has SPF, then the layering of the SPF with the lights creates a bright face. Has anyone ever taken a picture and your face just looks too light? Well, that's why, because it's all these layerings of SPF, so we don't want that. So now your face is prepped and primed. It looks really great. We're going to just finish off with one last thing, which is a primer. Not everyone needs this. In fact, for me on myself, I don't really wear a primer very often, so that would have been my prep and prime steps. So my skincare is my prime. But if you feel that you need additional coverage, or you want your makeup to last a really long time, then you can prime your skin. So I'm just going to take a little primer with a brush and just kind of put it into different areas. Most primers are silicone based, and the silicone is actually going to help to go into your pores and help to fill in fine lines, wrinkles, scars, large pores, things like that. So it's going to help create that even skin tone. So now we're ready for some foundation. My key recommendations with foundation is there's lots of different ways to apply it. We can apply it with a sponge. We can apply it with a brush. We can apply it with our hands. It's not always in how you apply it. It's also what you're applying. So everyone's skin is a little different. If you are an oily person, then you don't want to be using a foundation that's going to help to add more oil to your face. Anyone ever feel like by the end of the day they could fill an oil tank, a car oil tank, with the oil on their forehead? You're probably using either the wrong moisturizer or the wrong foundation. So for me, I'm an oily person. I'm going to use something that helps balance my skin and helps keep that hydration level at bay. It's going to help keep my skin more even and not oily. If I were dry, then I would want something that's going to add hydration and maybe almost make my skin appear dewy. So I'm going to put a little bit on the back of my hand. I'm going to use a brush technique today. Don't be afraid to intermix foundations. You don't have to use only one. You can really customize a color. And we're going to keep it a little lighter centrally, and then we'll darken with some contour and darker colors on the outside afterwards. I like to start on my nose, and I'm pressing it on with my finger, and then lots of different types of brushes. but I'm going to use a fluffy brush, okay? And I'm going to make little circles. This is going to give an airbrushed look to the skin. It's going to create coverage, okay, and help to hide any discoloration as well as just even the overall skin tone and make everything look really, really nice and flawless. And this is all done before we've even done our concealer. Now, some artists differ on the opinion of if it should be done before concealer. I personally like doing it before concealer because then I maybe need even less concealer. Okay, on your forehead, you don't usually need as much because your forehead's a little darker, so we're gonna actually contour a little darkness afterwards. And what my goal is to brush it all away so that it's not in my hairline, right? Has anyone ever had that where you have foundation all through your hair? That's no good. So we wanna make sure we don't have that, all right? And then we don't have the line at the edge of our face. Okay, so now we have some nice coverage going on. And now it's time, I'm just gonna put a little more right there, and then it's gonna be time for our concealer and any darkening and things like that we're gonna do. But first, I'm gonna start with the lightest concealer, which is gonna be under our eyes. So when we do concealer, we wanna do 1 to 3 shades lighter under our eyes or in any areas we wanna highlight. Then we're gonna go 1 to 3 shades darker in any areas that we wanna contour or create some dimension. The difference between contour and highlight is it's gonna create that dimension amongst our face so our face doesn't look flat. Right now I just have foundation on with no additional coverage, so my face looks more flat. It doesn't have that depth to it. So now we're gonna create that depth. So for me, I like to use, I kind of have 2 brushes that I like to use for concealer. I have a little bit of a larger one, a little bit of a smaller one, okay? And under the eyes, I'm gonna do, like I said, 1 to 3 shades lighter. I'm gonna mix it on the back of my hand. I like to get my concealer really nice and warm so that it moves well, all right? And I like to do a triangle shape under my eye. So I'm going across my eye, in the inner corner, and down the side of the nose, okay? Now what's really important is going to be the blending of this, but first we're just going to lay it on nice and thick and we'll blend after. Now the reason we go 1 to 3 shades lighter under the eyes, sometimes I think people get really confused by that, but what that really is that under your eyes is naturally darker. So it's important to go 1 to 3 shades lighter because it's going to be closer to matching your skin color. Okay, I'm going all the way across and I'm making that triangle. All right, the other areas that we're gonna do it in a lighter color is gonna be on down the center of the nose, a little bit in between your eyebrows. Okay. And we're doing this as a highlight. Now, if your nose is a little crooked or a little sideways, this is where you can help to create that symmetry. When we make that line nice and straight, that adds symmetry to our face. So what we want to do is if we want our nose to look thicker, we make the line thicker. If we want it to look thinner, we make it thinner. Longer line, shorter line. But either way, we make the line perfectly straight, okay? And then the last area for light is going to be right in the center of the chin. So those are going to be our highlighted areas. Now, I look like a clown right now. I get it. I know. But now we're going to go and do our darkening or our contouring color. Okay, so I'm going to do it with concealer. You could do it with foundation or concealer, whatever you prefer. All right, I'm going to put a little bit up here around the edge of our face. Now, the ideal face shape is an oval. If you're already an oval, you really don't need to contour up there, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to. We're going to do a little bit down here. For me, I have a very square jaw, so I'm going to do in here. Okay. And then I'm going to do a nice line here. Now, some people use the Beauty Blend to blend. You can decide what you like. I'm actually going to use a brush to blend it all. I'm going to kind of buff my whole face. Okay. So now I'm going to use 2 different types of brushes. One's really like fat and fluffy, I love it, and one's a little flatter. So I'm gonna start with the flatter one. All right, and I'm gonna actually start in the lightest areas and kind of dab it all out. I don't wanna start with the darker areas because then if I bring it up to the light areas, it's going to make those areas darker. So I always start with the lighter for me. Okay, so now we start to blend the dark. Take my bigger brush. To finish off our foundation, we're gonna set it all with a lovely, lovely powder. But before we do that, we do wanna just make sure that there's no additional areas that we missed, like blemishes or any things we need to cover up. For blemishes or anything that's a discoloration that's still bleeding through, we wanna take our concealer color in our exact skin color and just give it a little tap, okay? And really just blend it away so you don't see it. The reason you wanna match that skin color is so that you don't still see it through the makeup. For the powder, what we wanna do is we wanna make sure that we are using powder that's a setting powder. I don't recommend layering a mineral powder or a mineral foundation on top of your foundation because now you're layering a lot of different foundations. Instead, what's better is to use a powder that's actually meant to set the makeup. All right, so usually they're a little bit of a lighter based powder. They don't go on overly heavy and they're gonna help keep everything in place but not make you look too flat or too matte, all right? Now, the heavier you go, the more matte you will appear, so it's just a preference. So I'm gonna start with a lighter color in the areas I highlighted, okay? So I'm gonna start under the eyes, and I go very lightly under the eyes just to really help that concealer stay. I don't wanna go heavy because if I go heavy, it's gonna create little fine lines, and throughout the evening then I'm gonna look older, and I don't like that, right? Then any other areas that I want light, so like under here, underneath my contour, I'm gonna put a little bit of the lighter powder. So on my jawline, center of the face, and a little bit in my chin. Then for the darker powder, I'm gonna now always push it into the brush really strongly, like really work it in. If you just take powder and you plop it on the face, then when you're photographed or videoed, you're gonna have a big powder puff on your face and it's gonna look really weird. So instead, you wanna work it into the brush so it goes all the way down the bristles of the brush so that now it's literally all the way through and it's gonna spread through your face, okay? So I'm gonna start on that outer edge and work it through. We have tiny little hairs on our face unless we've been lasered. So you wanna make sure with powder that you don't actually go in an upward motion because it's gonna bring those hairs up. I always say I don't wanna be Spike the dog, right? I want my hairs to not be seen or shown and I don't want anyone to know I have facial hair, okay? So we wanna keep in a downward motion with all of that. All right, I will hit the center just to give a little bit of connection of color, hit the chin. If you notice throughout this process, I didn't put makeup down my neck. I happen to have a lighter neck than some of the rest of me because my face and neck are lighter in general because I protect them with a lot of SPF. So now would be the time that maybe you'd go ahead and match them to your chest, and I'm going to really kind of just tie it in. When you color match yourself, you really should always color match the darkest part of your chest so that you don't have to carry makeup all the way through. You don't want to have a photograph where your face is one color and the rest of your body is another color, right? So guys, I hope that this was helpful. This is just a quick and easy tutorial of how to do your foundation, concealer, and powder at home. And we're gonna come at you with a lot more great videos. So please stay tuned and I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.